Hello, my name is PJ Adams. I am a current master's student at DePaul University and a former vocal coach for singing. I have my undergraduate degree in vocal performance from the University of Northern Colorado. And one of the most frequent questions I get asked as a voice coach is, how should I prepare for my musical theater audition? And this video is going to help you. So this is going to be called Musical Theater Singing for the Actor, a Quick Guide. So here's a couple of things that you need to think about when you're preparing for any musical theater audition. If you go to NATS, which is the National Association of Teachers of Singing website, they give you guys a rubric, and that rubric shows you exactly what they're looking for when they are scoring the singers at their singing competition. Now, they have a couple different things that they have categorized there. Those things would be tone, breath and alignment, language and diction, musicianship, artistry, and ensemble. Now, tone refers to the style of the character, the vocal color, and the intelligibility, right? So we're talking about, like, depending on what your character is, the style that they would sing in. Are they a higher pitched tone? Are they more bright? Do they have a darker tone? Things like that. And can you understand them? That's what tone would be. Breath and alignment. That would be healthy and technical breathing, specifically like your diaphragm use, your airflow support, and your vocal energy. And alignment used to bring physical life into the character, right? So something that I always teach, because I was trained in some Alexander technique, is that when you sing, you have to be in perfect alignment with your body, because if something is off, whether it be your hips are a little askew, or your head is forward or back, or your shoulders are too raised, or like you're clamping too much on your stomach, then all of a sudden, the entire breath flow of being able to sing gets messed up. And singing is a full body sport. It's not just open your mouth and pray for the best. And you can do that, but it might cause damage in the future, and that's how people get no's. So, breath and alignment. Next is language and diction. That means that the dialect is accurate and appropriate for the character and communicated correctly. That's important based on the region as to where your character lives. So if they're Southern, that's still being able to sing with that Southern accent, but still have people understand you, versus if they're like British, being able to sing with that British accent and still be understood, right? Musicianship. That would be notes and rhythm are correct. Let me say that again for those at the back. Notes and rhythm are correct. Song is memorized, and dynamics for you guys who don't know, that's basically how loud it is, how quiet it is it fast, does it slow down, things like that. The dynamics are observed. Artistry would be the next one, right? So that would be you being able to tell the story in an honest and authentic way that brings the audience in. And lastly, ensemble. Now this is harder in the sense of like preparing for an audition, unless you're doing something that's an ensemble show. Those are like the Godspells, the Hairs, the Songs for a New World, you know, things like that, where it's more about the ensemble versus the individual. And in that case, collaboration between singer and the instruments or other singers is very, very important, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about those genres and some characteristics and some things you can do to help get into them, and some things you need to avoid, right? So one of the bigger genres within musical theater would be the classical genre, right? So we're talking about our golden ages. Those are our Music Mans, our Oklahomas, you know, all the fun things that I totally do in my career. I definitely am not lying on this video to make it seem like I do golden age musicals. The classical genre, right? So this is actually much more close to what would be considered an operetta in the opera world. And an operetta would be an opera that has dialogue, right? Vibrato is going to be a lot more prominent within the classical genre. The big difference between musical theater classical And opera classical is that opera classical is a little bit more in the center of the mouth and very, very tall and open. And musical theater classical is a lot more forward. We're feeling that in that frontal mask, that cheek, the teeth, with a tall mouth. All plosive consonants become dentalized, especially when you're in your higher range. Open vowels. They love a good open vowel. So those are your ahs, o, I, e, nice tall open vowels. And a nice long open dropped jaw, right? Consonants. In classical musical theater, the consonants that are at the beginning of words, you can pronounce. However, some of them that end words or phrases tend to go by the wayside. And the R coloring is usually dropped specifically at the ends of words, right? So, here are some characters that you can do to help you kind of warm up into musical theater. I like to think of the Good Witch Glinda, if you guys happen to know those warm-ups, yes. Finding any old school black and white clip and just mimicking how they talk can really help you get into the vibe of some good classical musical theater. And another good thing that you can do to really help warm you up as well is just to go out there and make fun of a good opera tone. Just go out there and be over the top with your opera tones that you make and vibrato and stuff, because that'll help you get into the genre. Now, I'm gonna give you a few examples of some singers if you're trying to find a good musical theater tone. Of course, the queen, Patti LuPone. I suggest Evita. The other queen, Miss Audra McDonald. I suggest Ragtime. Kristin Chenoweth is really, really good for you sopranos. I highly suggest listening to her do Candide. That is, I think, peak Kristin Chenoweth. Brian Stokes Mitchell, also Ragtime, especially for you baritone voices, wonderful. Ramin Karimloo from Phantom of the Opera, wonderful. And Robert Cuccioli, Jekyll and Hyde. All right, now here's some things to avoid for the classical musical theater genre. Singing too far back. You want it to be central in your mouth, you don't want it to go into your throat. Think Russell Crowe, Les Miserables. If you know, you know. You lived through it, let it happen. Putting too many consonant sounds in your high range. And lastly, forcing vibrato. You want your vibrato to be healthy and natural and come directly from your diaphragm. Now let's move on to the next genre, modern. Now, what does modern mean? I think it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. The definition I'm giving you guys is that it is an all-encompassing genre for all popular musical genres during the time period that the musical was composed. That does include rap, rock, jazz, country, Motown, etc. It depends on what was popular at the time that the show was composed, right? Now, for this one, it's entirely less vibrato because it's pop music. However, there is always a little bit of vibrato tacked onto the very end of phrases as an affect, right? Now, when you have a held note, because that's really big in modern musical theater, is having a big glory moment with a held note, you will usually open up that held note. And they usually will adjust it to a mouth space that is closer to an ah, or eh. Anything that's nice and open so that you can get that space, right? For instance, here are some commonly adjusted words. So if you have a held note on me, you would adjust it to may. If you have a held note on no, you would adjust it to now. If you had a held note on wizard, it would become wizard. And if you had to hold a note on never, it would become never. Also, on the subject of held notes, if you have a diphthong on a held note, you will take that first vowel sound and hold that out for about 95% of the time that you're holding that note. And then that final 5% is where the rest of those sounds would come in. For instance, if you were singing time, you would say time. Yeah? Awesome! So here are some characters to help you warm up into the modern genre. I like to think of the Wicked Witch, but the Wizard of Oz version, so you can get that forward, pingy placement, right? Another good one to do is a warm-up using the Oz voice from the Wizard of Oz to help get you into that chest voice, right? Because a lot of modern musical theater is very belty and it's very chesty, yes? Now, here are some singers to listen to. One of my favorite, and if you listen to it for any other reason, just listen to it because she is queen and mother all at the same time. Cynthia Erivo, Color Purple. I mean, come on. Excellence. Miss Sutton Foster, I suggest Little Women. My baritones, I'm so sorry. The modern musical theater genre has done you dirty. But for my tenors and slightly lower tenors, because that's really what it is, some good singers to listen to would be Jeremy Jordan. I suggest Newsies. And of course, my idol, Billy Porter. I suggest Kinky Boots. Things to avoid for the modern genre. Pushing. Never be louder than beautiful, right? Vocal inaccuracy. The great thing about musical theater, especially the modern genre, is how much flexibility it gives you to be an individual artist. The flip side of that is that you also need to make sure that you're singing the right notes, or at least you're staying in the key. Tongue tension. We don't want our tongue to be that involved in our singing. And that's a lot of why it starts to sound a little bit more froggy and back, or the vibrato starts to get a little bit wobbly, or it looks like they're struggling, or like the mouth starts opening much more wider and it looks like they're really putting in way more effort. It's because is because that tongue is in the way. Now, my final main genre is gonna be Disney. Disney is hard because Disney is an animal of its own. So I've kind of split it up into 4 archetypes within Disney based on how they kind of compose the music for them. So the first archetype of Disney that I want to talk about is hero, right? Every Disney movie has the hero. Those are usually the more mask presenting roles. So that one's a little bit more modern in their high range belt with a touch more classical vibratos in their mid-range singing, right? So if they're not belting, there's a little bit of vibrato. But when they are belting, it's a lot more straight note, and the vibrato is tacked onto the ending as a little bit of an effect. And it will usually be a bit more pop infused. So some characters to help you get into this particular archetype, to help you out, would be a little bit of Prince Charming. I would use Harry Potter. Any superhero. All of them. Pretty much all of them. And some Romeo. And then a couple of singers to listen to help you get into that particular archetype of Disney singing is Jason Raize, who is the original Simba in Lion King. Jeremy Jordan, Newsies again. Stark Sands from Kinky Boots. All right, the next archetype for Disney singing is one of my personal favorites. That's right, we have the villain. But in a world full of heroes, strive to be the villain. Don't quote me on that. Please don't. Please don't. I'm not trying to create anybody's villain origin story. The thing about the villains in Disney is that those ones are usually more lower tone. So that's where you would have your altos, and that's where you would have your baritone basses. And some of their songs tend to have a more patter song vibe to it. A patter song is a song that has a lot of fast moving words. And as far as the genre, this one is more classical with a touch of like a little modern belt, like a touch of it, like a tinge of it. What's really important for a good Disney villain singer is that your diction needs to be crisp. They're also a lot less focused on vocal accuracy because they want more of the characterization and they want more of you being able to be intelligible with what you're saying, right? And it also is something that has a wide array of emotions. The Disney villains tend to be so extra, like, girl, extra, because they're all psychopaths, which makes them so fun. So here are some characters that I've come up with who can help you really get into the Disney villain vibe in a fun way. So number one, everybody's favorite, Gollum. The Joker. The Wicked Witch again. Bellatrix. Joan Crawford. From Mommy Dearest. That gal was crazy. Now here's some singers that I would suggest that you guys listen to. Alex Brightman, Beetlejuice. Miss Patti LuPone, the queen again, Gypsy, because girl. Patrick Page, Basses, This Is Your Time to Shine. Take it. Hellfire, Hunchback of Notre Dame, wonderful. But also everything that he did in Hadestown, absolutely. And last but certainly not least, Linda Hart in Hairspray. Now we move on. If you have a hero, of course, you need to have a princess. So, for a Disney princess, classical high notes, modern mid-range belt. It's never very loud, it's never very belted. And the difference between the Disney vibrate and the classical musical theater vibrate is that the Disney vibrate is a lot lighter, kind of like a bird. They're usually a lot more forward, so again, think teeth, think cheeks. So, some characters to help you warm up into a Disney princess vibe. I suggest Glinda again. Sailor Moon. Disney Plus, buy the rights to Sailor Moon. Let's make her a Disney princess. My partner just shook his head no. Dora the Explorer. Miss Juliet from Romeo and Juliet. Here's a few singers you can listen to help you get into the Disney princess vibe. I will always, till the day I die, suggest Miss Lea Salonga. She is, for me, the gold standard of good Disney princess singing. I suggest listening to her do Les Mis. Sutton Foster, again, listen to her do Shrek. Harry Ellis, Chess. Someone Else's Story, basically a Disney princess song. Philippa Sue, Hamilton. Annalee Ashford from Legally Blonde. Now our last genre that we're going to talk about today, in any Disney movie, whether the main character is a princess or the hero, they definitely could never make it through their story without the sidekick. It is the sidekick's time. Character actors unite. These are usually a lot more higher pitched. This is usually a lot more modern. They don't really necessarily focus on a specific genre. They are more focused on communication and the comedy. The diction needs to be crisp. If you have silly noises, this is where you want to put it in there. Speak singing, absolutely. Ad-libs, yes mama. And high energy. So here are some characters that can help you warm into a sidekick Disney character. Buddy the Elf. Donkey. Oda Mae Brown. Here are some singers I'm going to suggest you use to help you get into these characters. I'm going to be controversial and I'm going to be brave. And I'm going to suggest both Robin Williams and James Monroe Iglehart from Aladdin. They are both genies, they both do it differently, and they both are slaves. Daniel Breaker, Shrek, Donkey, and Chenoweth again, Wicked. George Salazar, Be More Chill. Questions, comments, concerns, send me a message. I am a voice coach. I do offer private lessons. Or if you just have a question, you can ask me. I answer questions all the time. Or if you just like my makeup and you think I'm pretty, you can also tell me that too. I accept compliments. I actually live off of them. Thank you. Goodbye. God on high, hear my prayer in your near distance, I don't care how far. Somehow I'll be strong. I know every mile would be worth my while. I would go most anywhere to find where I belong. Fortunately, know a little magic. It's a talent that I always have possessed. In here lately, please don't laugh. I use it on behalf of the miserable, lonely, and depressed. Pathetic. Poor, unfortunate souls in pain, in need. This one longing to be thinner, that one wants to get the girl, and do I help them? Yes, indeed. Those poor, unfortunate souls, so sad, so dancing bears, painted wings, things I almost remember, and a song someone sings once upon a December. Someone holds me safe and warm. Horses prance through a silver storm. Figures dancing gracefully across my memory. Hey, you gotta let me go with you. You don't know what it's like to be considered a freak. Oh, well, maybe you do. Okay. No, don't speak, don't speak, don't speak. Nah, please don't let me go. I need you, 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 I need you. Don't let me go. Don't let me go.